Hello, John Judge. Thank you for being with us today. My name's Cody Kirby.
Nice to meet you.
To start off with, what did you study at university and how did your career start after graduation?
Yeah, well, I studied accounting, and in my first year I did pure maths as well, but found that I enjoyed accounting and economics a lot better. So I did 3 years of accounting and then joined what is now Ernst & Young in Dunedin, doing sort of accounting, budgeting for clients and eventually helping with small times when they were buying and selling businesses. I then went to London to do international tax, so I had to really, in a way, go back to school and learn the British tax system and a whole lot of international taxes, mostly Japanese, Netherlands and the US, and oddly Saudi Arabian taxes, because I had Saudi Arabian clients as well. Came back then to Wellington to do tax here for banks, insurance companies, did a lot of M&A before I ended up running the Auckland office and then running the firm.
What are the critical factors for success in the business world?
Yeah, I think continuous learning would be the single most important thing that the world's moving even faster than when I was going through the early parts of my career. But I found all the time that people who don't continue to learn and grow end up making themselves redundant. So the continuous learning, if you add to that, if you want to be successful, you've got to learn to face the facts. So you've got to have a good analytical ability and realise that there's no use just taking a once-over lightly look at a problem, that you've got to find out what the true cause is if that's what you're going to fix or where the gains are. And if you add after that, it'd be ethics. Ethics matter.
How important is networking in today's business world, and what strategies did you use to establish those connections with people?
Yeah, I mean, it's different now, isn't it, that we didn't have the internet and we didn't have LinkedIn or any of those sort of tools. So you really only could make contact with people you met. So right from the start, I made an effort to remember people's names, know who I'd seen, go and see them again if I thought that they would be good for my career. Later on, I spent time when eventually I came back to Wellington, was building a practice. Both Janet, my wife, and I would make sure we were targeting the people that I needed to know. So not in the sense of trying to use people, but certainly in the sense of making sure I knew who I needed to.
How can students use their time on campus to better prepare themselves for the business world?
I think you've got to realise that while you're here, getting a degree is only one part of it. Now, I know you're at Otago, I went to Otago, so I do know about the social side, and that's why people end up much better prepared than at universities when they're not like that. But you need to in the business school, take part in what's going on, take part in the case study competitions. I'd recommend to anyone to go and do 6 months or a year at another university overseas, which wasn't available when I did there. Take part in OUSA or the clubs and societies, because they're the things that will add to your ability to succeed.
What can students do to maximise their opportunities to become directors?
First of all, I'd say you don't want to aim at becoming a director. I mean, at the end, there's a lot of personal risk. It's not a well-paid profession, and so it's really something to do, I think, towards the end of your career rather than further on. I think you're better off aiming at being in the C-suite, to end up being a CEO or a chief financial officer or in those sort of areas. And it's really only when you've had those jobs that you truly are competent to be a director, because you've seen enough and had the personal responsibility and know where the buck stops.
How have you dealt with difficult business decisions in your career?
Yeah, they're inevitable. As you get further up the tree, the more you actually have to deal with the difficult issues. No one walks into your office and say, I've got an easy win here, come and enjoy it. They come and see you and say, I've got a difficult problem, and pass the ball to you. I think the first thing is you have to realise they must be faced, so you have to deal with them, so you might as well face up to it. The second thing that you need to do is surround yourself with really bright people. Good people who can work in a team, who can help you analyse the problem, because no one can do it on their own. And then when you've done that, get on with it. There's no use procrastinating when you've got difficult things to do. It's easier to get them done than to leave the worry really sitting on you.
What is your view on firm risk as a director?
You have to take it, because there's no reward without risk. I mean, they're both parts of exactly the same thing. The important thing is to analyse it and understand how much risk you're taking and what happens if it goes wrong, what defences will you put in place, what point can you can out of doing whatever you're doing to reduce the risk, and what would make you do that. And I think if you understand the risk and understand the downside, then you're equipped to deal with it, because things go wrong. I mean, life is not always up, and those people who say they've had this very smooth trajectory going upwards either have got very faulty memories or aren't telling the truth.
How do you balance the demands of a busy workload with family and personal time?
I think the truth would be often I didn't. I think that would be the reality. But if you think about it, I never thought about it as having to have a balanced week. I mean, that's a concept I just don't understand. You know, you could say that I work hard and play hard. I'm older now, I can't play nearly as hard, I can still work hard. And there was some balance in that, but in a practical way, I don't think there was any doubt that I didn't see so much of my children when they were very young. I mean, I was there, but I was away from home a lot, and maybe should have put a bit more time into them. I put more time into them now. But I've thought about more that how do you balance it over your life? And so now I have much more control over my life. I can choose how much I do. I don't work full time. Being a director, I can take more time, have more holidays with my wife, see my friends more. So I'd say it's balanced, but only if you count from here to here, not if you looked at the wee segments in between.
What has been the highlight of your business career?
Yeah, that's when I looked at the questions you were going to ask, that's actually a hard one. If you said, what am I most proud of, it would be when I chaired the team that raised the money to rebuild the Auckland Art Gallery. You know, we, and it was a team like everything is, produced a building that is magnificent. It won the awards for the top building in its year, in the architectural awards that are held globally. And it is an absolutely magnificent building, and it'll stand there for years and years and years. And in a way, that's probably the thing that I'm most proud of, because it's got the longest legacy.
What is the most important lesson that you have learned from your career?
Yeah, that's, I think face the truth would be one. I think there's several, so I think we better call it lessons. I think you have to be true to yourself. And unless you like yourself and like what you're doing and are proud of what you're doing, then you're not going to do a good job for a firm, for your family, or anybody else. I'll go back to the continuous learning. I mean, even now I read 20 to 30 hours a week across a wide range of science and business subjects to try to make sure that I'm prepared for discussions and can think more broadly about things. And I'll go back to the ethics thing. You'll probably find me mentioning 2 or 3 times. Ethics absolutely matter. How you treat people matters. And if you don't do that the right way, you haven't got a show of succeeding.
Thank you for your time, John Judge. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
No, thank you. I've actually enjoyed it as well.